We want to talk to you now about the messages that you receive that create soul wounds. And we also want to talk to you about the lost self. And the lost self is the part of you, your authentic self that you were born with, that because of circumstances in life, we always say in the soul healing model, it got wounded out of you. And then what you do typically is you'll end up marrying that in your spouse, fall madly in love with it, and then fight about it for the next 50 years until you learn soul healing love and move out of the power struggle into awareness and into soul healing love. So what we're going to take a look at then are messages that the soul receives that could create wounds for you. And if in the workbook you see any messages that would create wounds, you just circle those messages and say, okay, could be something I need to deal with. Now, look down at the bottom of the page and you're going to see a don't be message. If you have a don't be message, all areas of the soul are wounded. The thinking area of the soul, the sensing area of the soul, the acting area of the soul, and the feeling area of the soul. And don't be messages and soul messages can be verbal or nonverbal. So it could be that your dad says, you know, I've got a boy and a girl, and then I had you. And he doesn't say anything else. Okay, well, I'm going to interject now. I'm going to make up my reality about that, and your silence speaks volumes to me. If you have a don't be message, then you really want to pay attention to that. And that could be your birth was an accident, you're in the way, you're a bother, kids are a bother. Any message like that will create soul wounds. And now then look at thinking, guys. And these are the messages of don't think. And one message is don't think. Don't be intuitive. Don't solve problems. Don't assert yourself. Don't be creative. Did anybody get, a don't think message? A lot of times in my family, girls got it. The boys will do the thinking for you. And then look at the feeling messages. Don't feel. Don't show certain feelings. Big boys don't cry. That's a big one. Boys don't cry. And it's very wounding. Of course boys cry. Everybody cries. Don't exaggerate. How about this one? You're too sensitive. Then look at the acting. Don't move your muscles. Don't act. Don't show off. Don't make noise. Did anybody get that? Don't make noise. Don't be rowdy. Anybody get that one? I got that a lot. 4 kids in a little house. Don't be athletic. I got that one being a girl. Don't be athletic. That's for the boys, And then we look at a sensing message. And this, guys, if you did junior high school in church, you got this message. You got it big time. Don't touch, don't be sexual, don't enjoy your body, don't wear certain clothes, don't enjoy your 5 senses. You may as well just say passive sexual abuse, because it's just like, you do one thing to be a normal sexual human being and that's it. You're a pervert. So the soul wounds of sexuality are really, Tom and I want to write a book about women that are raised in the church and the passive sexual soul wounds that occur because of being reared in the church. But those are messages. Now I want you to think about those messages, and if any of them apply to you, then I want you to just kind of star them. Now the reason is because these are going to be the areas where you're very sensitive with your spouse. And then I want you to flip the page over and I want you to look at the stages of social development. And as you look at the stages, you're going to see stage 1, it's from 0 to 2, and you're going to see the word up there that says attachment. In developmental theory, that's what happens. That's what's supposed to happen to you. You're supposed to form attachments. So if anything happened to you from 0 to age 2 that could be traumatic in any way, then you might struggle forming attachments. You might have an issue with attachments. You'll look at the next stage, which is exploration, from 2 to 3, and that's when the child explores. And they wander out. If you'll kind of think about those times with children, the toddler at between 2 and 3 wanders out, but they very typically keep an eye on their parent, and if they wander back and the parent's not there, they decompensate. So if you were wounded there, then you might not be you may be frightened to explore new things. From 3 to 4 then is identity. And this is when you do the mine, you hear it all the time, mine, my, I keep mine. They don't share toys. You're constantly doing the, please do not beat up your sister and take her toys away. This identity thing, but it's also the really cute superhero thing, where, and in particular, I've seen boys. Now, girls typically move into the mommy thing and they'll carry their babies around all the time. But if you were wounded, if something happened significantly, then you may not be sure of your identity. 4 to 7 is competence. And competence is when you learn, I've got skills, I can do things. And it's very good at this time, not for parents not to overcorrect children, or like when they make the bed, okay, now honey, now let mommy and daddy gonna teach you how to make it right. And which is very hard for us perfectionist parents, because my kids were learning to make their beds then, and I had to really, work very hard not to tuck, like, because you see the thing sticking out and you're like, and Tommy goes, don't you do it, don't you go in there and do it. Now, stage 5, then age 7 to 12 is the social concern stage. A lot of people get wounded here. So it's between social concern and intimacy is junior high school. You may as well cash in your chips. You get rejected by peers, you get rejected by boyfriends and girlfriends. This is when you develop crushes, and then the guy doesn't like you because he's older and you're annoying, and just all kinds of things. Like being different is horrifying. And intimacy then is 12 to 19. And this is usually when we do relationships. This is when you have your boyfriends and girlfriends, and if there's pain there, which oftentimes there is, oftentimes there's hurt and pain, then that just calcifies us and just builds scars in us to then cause us to adapt. And then the last stage, 20 plus, is responsibility. And that's where we learn responsibility. And if we didn't learn it well, or we got wounded, or things happen, like maybe we flunked out of college because, sometimes that happens, we're going through different things, then responsibility then gets thwarted. Now, when you do get wounded in these stage, guys, there are 2 ends of the continuum that you adapt in. One end of the continuum is the distancer, the person that pulls away. The other end of the continuum is the pursuer, or the person that connects and joins. But in you then, if you adapted as a caretaker, there is a lost loner. There is a person who would like to do more on his or her own. If you're a loner, there is a lost caretaker. You marry that person. You see, you marry that lost part of you. And when you fall in love, you feel whole and complete. And all you want to do is connect to one another. And opposites attract, so you appreciate the opposite. But as you move toward life and marriage, you end up fighting about the very things. And this is where part of this oneness comes in. If I find the lost part of me, instead of making you complete me, you fill the hole in my soul, you do it for me. If I find it within me and ask the Lord to heal me and the Lord to complete me, I don't put the pressure on my spouse to do that. And I become a balance between a caretaker and a loner. Do you see? I find the balance. My spouse then moves over. Ooh, because he has to loan now, because, this wife drives me crazy. She's constantly asking for time and connection. He moves over, and he becomes a balance between a caretaker and a loner. So God restores us to wholeness. The Lord Jesus Christ and His love for us restores us to wholeness. So those things that I missed, I can go back and get in a healthy way with the help of the Lord Jesus Christ.